trend in hairdressing is a really strong fringe. And one of the challenges that can come up a lot of times with these strong fringes, especially if we want visual texture, is if your guest has really dense textures of hair. So we're going to show you a couple tips on how to handle this. I'm going to grab my Sam Villa 5 3/4 inch shear. Now, some of you might think, well, why isn't he using the dry cutting shear? The reason for it is I actually want just a little bit of slip as I cut, and the dry cutting shear holds the hair so perfectly that it doesn't allow a lot of slip to the hair. So that's why I'm choosing the 5 3/4 inch Signature Series wet cutting shear. First, we're going to address our perimeter. So this perimeter is the focal point, and this is where we spend a lot of our time when we're doing fringes. So we're going to start here by just freehanding in the length that we want. We actually want to go a little shorter, and some of you might get a little intimidated to take these fringes so short, but I promise you, if you stop too soon, if you stop too low on the forehead, you're going to miss the opportunity for a statement fringe. So don't be afraid to take it short. We're going to come in and we're going to just use a point cutting technique to freehand in that fringe. Now, I'm going to have to step in front of you here for a second because I don't have a mirror. And I just want to make sure that that length is really flattering. Now, one of the challenges with Michelle's hair is she's got a pretty low hairline. So when we create these fringes, we're actually coming up really, really close to her hairline. In fact, if you'll notice, right there it is. So really my shortest point on the fringe is only about 3/4 of an inch long. So don't be afraid to get in there nice and close, guys. We'll continue with our point cutting across the side here. Take a little peek, make sure my line's even. I'm keeping this line pretty balanced side to side, just kind of following the shape of her head. You could also open this up into more of a curved line if you would like. You can do more of a asymmetric or tilted line. And a lot of times you're going to need to shift that a little asymmetric based on your client's face shape. That's the hard thing with trends sometimes is we see these looks in magazines and our guests want that exact look, but maybe what they don't understand is that exact thing is not going to look perfect on their face shape. So we have to a lot of times adapt these trends to our guest's face shape. All right, so I have the perimeter line that I want. Now we have to go in and look more at the silhouette and the texture. Because the challenge is we want a lot of movement and almost like a choppy, we call it vandalized texture. And the challenge with this thick hair, especially because we're so close to the hairline, is that it's hard to get a lot of movement on that bottom edge. So what a lot of us might spend too much time doing is sitting here on the outside perimeter and just chopping into it. And yeah, it's going to make your edges more choppy, but it's not going to give you any surface texture. So that's where we're going to switch to our Signature Series. This is our Invisablend blending shear. The unique thing about the Invisablend shear is this blade is actually smooth. What's cool about that is as these teeth push the hair down across that blade, it creates little arcs. It actually purposely pushes the hair. And those little arcs create a very soft, invisible blended line. So these are an excellent shear for when you're working on very focal points like fringe, because you're not going to be able to see anything. I'm going to come in at a slight diagonal to the hair strand, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to close and then slide through. What you'll notice with this shear too is you're not going to snag hair because the hair is floating along that smooth blade, not a sharp blade to get caught. What that is initially doing is it's taking some of the bulk out of the hair. We're reducing the density on it. And so that starts to give me a little bit of movement and texture. Sorry, Michelle. Little hair on your nose there, love. That reduces the weight, but now what I need to do is I need to create some actual visual separation on the surface here. I'm going to step to the other side here. Because what we're going to do now is we're going to do kind of a pinch and talk technique. So I'm actually going to put my comb down, and I'm gonna grab with my finger what I wanna cut, and then I'm gonna come in and just talk right down the hair. And I'm actually taking a chunk off, because what we have to be able to do is create some peaks and valleys within this hair to actually show texture. Especially because her hair is a solid black color, it's very, very hard to show that visual texture. So we gotta be willing to be fairly aggressive. And I'm getting pretty short in there. This is the kind of stuff that can really kind of make the pulse race when you first do it. But the thing is we have to be willing to get more aggressive with these fringes to get that truly vandalized texture. So you'll notice I'm actually not really hitting the perimeter, I'm actually hitting the hair living on top of that. So now I'm starting to get some surface movement there. And I'm gonna come in, I am going to put just a few little cuts right there on that perimeter edge to help that break up more. One just right through this corner here. And actually that still looks just a bit thick. So we're gonna take one more piece and come back in and do one more little cut with my Invisablend to take a touch of weight off that corner. Now usually I wouldn't necessarily blow all over my client's face, but instead of grabbing the blow dryer and lightly dusting that off, I'm just using my hot air. So you can start to see that shape come alive. Now there's two products that we'd really love to show you that's gonna finish this off perfectly. So the new Diamond Oil spray is gonna be perfect because it's very light and it has a really buildable shine to it. So it's perfect for something like Fringe where you don't want as much weight as an oil might put there. Give it a little shake. We're gonna do a light dusting across that fringe, and what you'll notice is instantly you're gonna pick up more shine, because that's what we need. We need light reflection to show that separation. So a little bit of shine, and then we're gonna use our Mess Around 10. Great thing with Mess Around 10 is gonna give me a nice medium hold, a little bit of shine, but the best thing is it's gonna help to add the separation and the hold that we need on the fringe. So I'm gonna take, and I'm just gonna put a little bit in my palm, work it into my fingertips, and then we're gonna come in and just pinch that through on a couple ends to really separate that out. Again, pardon me for stepping in front of you here, guys. I just wanna make sure that it looks good to you. And I'll just work the rest of that into my hands. Put some in my own hair. All right, so again, when you're working with these new trends of the shorter fringe, you want to make sure that you're going much higher to make sure you get the impact. And if you have this thicker, coarser texture, you also want to make sure that you're getting really aggressive with your texturizing. Get your perimeter line in first, and then come back in. And don't be afraid to get into this upper surface and really pinch and talk and make sure that hair comes off in really strong pieces. Just clean these last little hairs off of beautiful Michelle here. And there you go. I'm Andrew Carruthers for Samvia. We truly hope that this helped you out. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, go ahead and put them into the comment box right below the screen.